It is now 7 o'clock and I will call the Jamaica Select Board meeting to order for Monday, April 26th. For the first item is just ask if there's any additional late items for the agenda. Wow. None. Perfect. Next item is to approve several sets of minutes from our most recent meetings, a couple special meetings, one regular meeting. I will call them all or take a motion on that.
You want, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 31st special select board meeting.
A second.
Any discussion, anything jump out for revisions?
What meeting was that?
That was
March
the
31st.
March 31st one. That was our special meeting where we signed off on the town meeting warning and
Yeah,
articles
Okay,
meeting.
that was
I don't
town
have
meeting.
that one printed. Okay,
There wasn't anything to print.
right.
Yeah, so hearing no further comment, all in favor of approving the minutes for the March 31st meeting, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None. Any abstentions? Minutes are approved.
We'll then make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 12th regular select board meeting.
Second the motion.
Any discussion regarding that or any comments?
Yes. On number 6, I think it should be noted that concerning the update on Hamilton Falls, that anyone from Jamaica that was at the first meeting, the outside meeting, that was me and Tom, that we were invited to that meeting. And I was invited to that select board meeting specifically because the Forest Parks and Recreation people would be there. And I think it should be known that Jamaica is, in on this, cooperating or participating. That's all, just that it says that maybe I was there representing Jamaica
Yeah,
or member of the select board, or the select board was invited. But as was actually me and Tom, and she didn't have
You didn't
Tom's
invite me to the
email.
meeting though. I never got an invite to the meeting.
I sent it to you.
Oh, you did? I
I sent it a couple of times. Yeah, I just figured that you couldn't go, so.
I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it. Sorry about
No,
that.
she said she didn't have your email, but I had got one, and then I sent it when I got it, and then I sent it Sunday before to you, or at
Okay.
least I thought it looked like it went to you,
Okay, I don't
my
remember.
sent box. But anyway, just so the public knows that we're participating in all of that.
yeah. I think that could be noted just in the very second sentence there, the Forest Parks and Recreation joined the meeting, but also to state that the Jamaica Select Board was invited and participated in the meeting. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, because I answered questions about our sheriff's department contract, and
Yeah.
there was a lot about the parking, or you heard.
And this is going to be an ongoing thing. I mean, so
Yes.
and it's great to be involved. I mean, it's great.
Another-
Glad they-
I know it wasn't in there, but they were going to schedule another one before, the season gets busy. I don't know if that's not in these minutes, but. So that's all. However you want to do that, Sarah.
Yeah, I didn't see any email from Andy. I don't know.
Okay. Anything else for that? So Tom, you want to revise the motion?
Yeah, I revised it, just the revisions that Andy said. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 12th with the revisions that Andy has recommended.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from April 12th, say aye.
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 That's unanimous. Thank you.
I will make a motion then to accept the select board minutes from the special meeting on April 21st at the town garage.
Second that one.
That was pretty straightforward. Any additions, comments on that? Hearing none, All in favor of approving the minutes from the April 21st special meeting, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. The minutes for April 21st pass are approved. Thank you, Sarah. So next item is a discussion and update on the Pikes Falls Music Festival. The organizers had approached Sarah with just with the tentative dates and a rough outline of a plan for the festival, and wanted to just kind of run it by the board, get our thoughts before kind of moving into it in too much detail. So the dates are, they definitely are thinking of a much smaller scale festival. Not that it was so big before, but 2 days, July 29th and August 5th. There was, and correct me, Sarah, if I missed something, two indoor concerts they were thinking of and 2 outdoor concerts. And again, they're still kind of a work in progress. I think they're being very cautious also of what the current health recommendations are. I mean, they're evolving, and it's hard to predict what they might be then, but those were the 2 dates, the July 29th and August 5th.
I support the outdoor. I don't know if I'm willing to support an indoor concert at this point, until we know more. I mean, as far as vaccinate, you're going to require people, if you're vaccinated, you come, or something to that effect. I mean, and then what's the capacity at the town hall going to be if we're still keeping social distancing going on, you know, and it has to be 6 foot. We talked about this for the town meeting. How many people can you really get in there? And I don't want to lead her on and say, oh, Susan, everything's great, and you can get in there and have 100 people or 50 people, and we end up getting, well, really you can't, because the governor's still saying only 25 people. And then what? And then they're stuck. I would support 4 outdoor concerts. I think the more concerts we can get, the better. But I think
Where would they do the outdoor? Where would they put the outdoor concerts?
Where they have in the past, right?
Where's that?
I don't know.
Well,
I can't recall either. I think
The
one of them
state
was,
park,
in the
right?
state park was one, yes.
There's also an opportunity down at the ball field. I mean, that's a fairly large space. In particular, if they're not doing any sort of amplification, you could fit a lot of people in that field, and it's open, and it is on Route 30 though. But that would be another option. I throw it out. I don't know.
I don't know if
Anyone else's thoughts on the
one of
town hall too. I mean, if people disagree with me,
I agree with Tom. I don't know what, you know, if we're gonna keep lightening up, or what the governor's gonna do, or kind of like, we
Well,
could
our
tell
hands
them
would be-
tentatively, sure, we can just wait and see what happens, but
Right. I mean, our hands would be tied anyway. So I think the concerts at the park were really spectacular. You know, it's possible by the end of July, beginning of August, based on what the governor has said in the past, that there would be some measure of a concert inside allowed. I don't know if that's what they were thinking. Presumably, they're only interested in doing what would be allowed under the governor's
Right.
restrictions. But on the other hand, having a discussion of, instead of 2 in the park, 4 in the park.
do they have to pay the park potentially? That may be why they don't do that.
Well, they have some funding, so it would be worth, you know, kind of asking
I
what's
guess they pay
feasible.
us too, so they pay us. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
But, yeah,
I think my understanding, I mean, it kind of translated through Sarah. I didn't talk to her directly, but that this is just the kind of feedback she's looking for. I mean, she's to say, hey, we've got some concerns about the indoor ones, and try to, you know, push harder to have more outdoor, and then, you know, get back to her with that. I mean, I think everybody's going to be kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen in 3 months.
right. I feel like I might be making this up, but I thought there was another outside venue somewhere in Londonderry that they also used, or somewhere.
Yeah, it could be that where Londonderry does their outdoor concerts.
Yes.
Picnic Park.
Picnic Park.
So Yeah, so if it could be 2 in Jamaica State Park and 2 there.
There's also the fairgrounds in Win Hall. I don't know. I know that Andy Gloss does his concerts up there. He did contact me, and they are doing concerts this summer. So I don't know how that could potentially fit into that and what their restrictions are. But I think definitely for the summer, outdoor concerts are pretty much moving forward. A lot of people I've talked to just through, my arts council connections. Oh yeah, we're definitely moving forward. Indoor stuff, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have rain or whatever. That's obviously always a complication when you have a lot of people.
Well, I would say that that's probably enough. Sarah, do you think that's enough to kind of get back to her based on what her thinking was, and say that we'd wholeheartedly support outdoor stuff and a little bit of reluctance to go anywhere for indoor? I mean, it could evolve. I mean, we could see how things are looking then too, but I know she's got a plan, obviously.
And as the rep for the town hall, if she wants to call me, she can contact me. I'm friends with her on Facebook. I think she can. So you can throw that out there. I'm willing to discuss and bring it back to the board too in a future meeting.
Okay, good. Anything else to add to that, anyone? All right, thank you. So Brian was, hoping to plan. I know he was traveling today, so maybe he's a little bit delayed with that.
Can we maybe put it off, and then if he joins later?
I think I wouldn't, he does have some updates on some funding opportunities and things like that with some of the CARES Act and a few things like that. He did say that our application that we had signed off on has been submitted, and that we're first in line for the next fiscal year, which starts on July 1st. So those are a couple of the quick takeaways, but I think he wanted to kind of dig into it a little bit more. So we can definitely push that forward. There's no pending urgency of decision or anything like that. So it can definitely hold off until our next meeting.
It sounds to me like you're talking about moving forward. I haven't heard the results from the engineering study about what options we had. Has that been completed yet?
That's what moving forward is to go get to the engineering study.
I thought they were doing that already, I guess. I thought.
No, so we had actually filled out the application. It was actually, if I recall right, the monies that were available for last year were eaten up already. So we didn't get any of that.
Okay.
But now we're first in line for this coming year. So we haven't gone anywhere yet. So that's what moving forward meant in my definition of
right. And since we're first in line, if we get this first tranche of money, Paul, it's not to do anything other than study.
Right.
And then
it's a feasibility study
and then once that's complete, then there's a whole nother series of monies available if you're shovel ready. And if you have a feasibility study, you can go into, you can potentially get further funding for a true plan, an engineer's plan. And if we go ahead then and get the plan written, once the plan's done, we're technically shovel ready for the big money that's coming potentially. But so it's a multi-step process.
Yeah, and the positive side is that there's more opportunity to grab some money. So that's the thing that we can get some studies done and decide whether or not it makes sense. So yeah, okay. So we'll postpone that, push it out to a future meeting.
Or maybe he'll show up.
Maybe
Yeah, exactly. No, so it could be
he's on the agenda, so
we'll put it on at the end of the meeting if he jumps in.
Right.
Greg, I thought of something I wanted to talk about today. If you could add it, is any update on the speed signs and where we're at? Because I know we were supposed to do a study or something, and I just don't even know where we're at now. And the state is out there, so thank you.
I can put that on for sure. We can bring that up.
Or we could talk. Even if it's next time, I know there's not a lot of prep for it, but if anybody knows, I'm just curious because we're here in spring now, and it'd be nice to get those signs up.
Yeah, I guess, it's not necessarily on the agenda for discussion now, but I don't have an update. So I guess,
throw it on for next meeting. That's fine.
Let's put it on for next time and make sure we'll get a lot of, all the details.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. The next item, number 5, discussion and appointment of Pikes Falls Stewardship Committee. Kind of came up in our conversations last time regarding Hamilton Falls, and that many of the issues, concerns are similar at Pikes Falls for overusage and stress on the facility and that kind of thing. There is a management plan for Pikes Falls for the property that was put into place when the town acquired it, many moons ago. And I've been in some conversations with Robin Gibson about basically the management plan says that the board will appoint yearly a committee to offer guidance and suggestions on issues and concerns and management of the property. And that kind of, again, many moons ago fell off the pallet, I guess. So we're talking about, like to get that kind of going again and get a committee appointed. Robin has come up with a few different names. Robin and I discussed a few different names, and I wanted to just share those and possibly get the committee appointed. So basically their task would be to come up with some stuff that they may need some help with to help facilitate the usage of that facility there. So the names kind of thrown out there were Robin. Greg Jolly had said that he would participate. Pat Melmans would. And then there's 2 local residents that up there in that neighborhood that Robin suggested. One is, his name is John Mack, and the other is Mike DeSabo, or Despato, maybe is how you say it. We did have a conversation of whether or not there should be a board member on it. There's some pros and cons. One is a better connection to the board, but it's not necessarily designed that it has to be that way. This group would be just to make suggestions and push them to the board if things needed to happen.
Yeah.
I think another big piece of this would be they would be a direct conversation with Charlie Peck and trying to integrate some of the revised traffic ordinance into this, and maybe some specifics that relate to Pikes Falls. So that's the background. I don't know if any further discussion or if anyone has other ideas.
What was the name of you said John Mack, and then what was the other gentleman's name?
Mike DeSabo, it's DISABOTO.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
just for reference, that plan or whatever you called it, Greg, is on the drive.
Yes.
I kind of just looked it over and I didn't print it though.
I didn't print it either,
And
but
I don't trust myself to go look at it and jump off the screen. You know what I mean? Go into the Google Drive and look at
I don't trust my internet connection either.
it.
Where is it? It's on a select board drive?
Gary put it, yeah, it was up with the pay orders and stuff.
What's it called?
It's called the Pikes Falls Management Plan.
I swear I just saw it on there before the meeting.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
there.
Pikes Falls warranty, no, Pikes Falls management plan, yeah. It's here. What do you want to know?
I was just saying it's on there if we.
Okay, it's definitely here, yeah. From
need to look
2000.
at it sometime.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, and some of our concern and urgency, I guess, is the same with Pikes Falls. I mean, Hamilton Falls, is that we want to kind of maybe get some stuff identified and get ahead of the curve a little bit as far as summer activity.
Yeah, something I've heard in relative to this is that Stratton Mountain Pond is not going to reopen.
Oh, really?
Reason is not going to reopen is because recreational activities at Stratton Mountain Pond, according to their Act 250 permit, are illegal. Thus, all these people were just up there doing stuff.
Right.
And basically now, when they closed it down, the states come in and said, you can't do this because your permit is for it just to be a pond for snowmaking, not to have people swimming and hanging out. So they're basically, unless they want to change their Act 250 permit, they're stopped. They can't do anything. So it will not be reopening. That's what I've heard. So
Right, and I did make a note, and I said this to Robin, that I was going to try to connect with Bill Nupp just to find out for sure, so it's not just hearsay.
yeah,
The other one that's kind of important is, as far as a facility, is the Dorset Quarries.
Right.
And I don't know what their plan is down there for this season either.
And Lowell Lake, are they gonna, they've talked about, there is a shed there now from the state. Are they gonna make that a fee-based area? And how's that gonna change that area? There's not a ton of parking there anyway, but that really becomes then another lake that, there's not a lot of opportunity to use. So there's no
Yeah,
swimming.
and as of right now, Dorset Quarry will not reopen. Just as
I
of right
don't
now.
think that even if all those places were open, we're gonna see any less people at Pikes
True,
Falls. It's
true.
just a beautiful place to go. And, people know about it, and I think it's gonna be sort of an instant replay of last year, whether we're in a pandemic or not, that if people are parked in the road, the thing we can control, or the law enforcement can tell them, remember they taped it off, they put horses up, taped it off. I mean, we're gonna tweak the parking ordinance, but it's still gonna be a matter of enforcing it, I
Right.
think. Or, if the town of Jamaica owns it, I don't know if it's legal to close it down, or, I mean, I
Sure.
think we're gonna have a lot of people going there no matter what happens with the other.
Well, we could close it down, but again, it comes back to enforcement. And is that gonna be popular? And it's
No.
not. And people
No,
are gonna
it's
break the law and go there anyway. So,
Place
I
is
think-
almost like world famous.
right, I think
No.
trying to create a safe environment is important.
Yeah, and I think that would be some of the task of the committee would be to identify not just, legal type things, parking and things like that, but how to manage access so it's not, causing erosion and, all the littering and those things. I mean, just the ethics of the place.
Right. I mean, there were a host of issues that came up last summer. Some of it was definitely exacerbated by the fact that there were limited, first of all, there was, we had a lot of out-of-state visitors, and then compounded by the fact that there were a limited number of places to visit. So it threw off a bunch of different issues that had not necessarily not been present in prior summers, but they were greatly exacerbated. So I know that the group, at least that you've named, I don't know Mike, but I know everyone else, Greg.
Okay.
They're definitely, familiar. I mean, I don't know about this Pat woman, but, everyone
no,
else.
she just wants to be in.
Never heard of her.
Never, yeah, I don't know. I've heard bad things, but that's okay.
I heard her husband's a real jerk too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, that's it.
So,
I
all
gotta go.
right. So anyway, I mean, I think that they'll come into it knowing what happened last summer, having a lot of history, probably having their categories set up. And I think they could come to first of all, there's a lot they can do in and of themselves, right?
Right.
Without official sanction.
Yeah. Well, I
But
think we
then-
actually would sanction them to take on some roles, to whether it's, obviously picking up trash and simple things like that, but then they would come back to us with suggestions where they needed help and things.
Right, exactly. And to Andy, if there were issues that required a liaison, that's, that kind of thing. So I'm happy to make to propose a resolution unless there's, further pre-resolution discussion.
Yeah, I think the only other question I would have before making, personally, I don't think it should be too big of a group. I mean, they can always go out and solicit other help if they need it, but whether or not there's a board member involved, that's somewhat of a discussion. I personally don't think it's necessary. I think it may
I know.
skew it a little bit, let these other people that really are more familiar with the area be involved. Keeps it at an odd number of people if there's any voting aspects that are necessarily that type of thing. So that's my personal feel. But Robin
agree.
thought that a board
agree.
member might have a little bit tighter connection, that we could, they would have more say, I guess, if there was a board member involved. But those are the comments.
The other option we could do is just assign a board member as the liaison. Doesn't necessarily mean they're on the board, but it would be who the board speaks with when they want to bring things to what the committee wants to bring to the select board. They would bring it to that person, have a conversation, and then that's an option too.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And the committee itself could come up with it, who it selects as the liaison.
That's perfectly fine, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, there should be a committee. These
Yeah.
people, if they would get together and just tell us what they'd like to do,
Yeah.
that would be a real good
that's
start.
written into this plan.
Greg, was there something else also before we move to resolution? Or that was the one point? More point?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the formation of the Pikes Falls Stewardship Committee, comprised of Robin Gibbons, Greg Jolly, Pat Melman, John Mack, and Mike what was these?
The Sabato, I guess. Yeah.
DeSabato, just Mike
And
DeSabato.
that's Robin Gibson.
I'm Gibson. What did I say? Gibbons. Sorry, Gibson. I know, Rob.
Yeah.
We know
I
who you mean.
misspoke. And that said committee is directed to appoint a liaison to the select board.
Second.
Any further discussion around that? All in favor of appointing those members to the Pikes Falls Stewardship Committee, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, those people are part of the committee now. Super. That's great. I think that'll be super helpful. Take some, get some good ideas coming out of there, and they're definitely very enthusiastically involved, those neighbors and things up there. Okay. The next item was just an update on the cannabis regulation and legalization, the retail sales. So obviously everybody's familiar with our last meeting. We had some quite a good conversation around where we were at. And Nick had answered a few of the questions that had come up. I've shared those with the board. I can share them for the public. I mean, the vote was not necessarily missed one of the pieces as far as warning the vote. So it is our prerogative to say whether we want to move forward with ratifying it. In the long run, we shouldn't let it just hang out there, but there also is the option of the board calling to rescind the vote. I think some of my takeaway and feeling is that there may have been some feeling that we might not have put out the right warning or the right vote. So let's say they should have been separated between the retail side and the integrated, can't remember the terminology, but anyways, that's not fully our decision to make. We have to put that back out to the town. So I think the big takeaway is that I feel that that we're all kind of in agreement that we work with Fran to kind of move this forward in a way that makes the most sense for the town.
Well,
So that's kind of my update. There's no decisions needed, but that information was out there on a couple of our different options. I've not had a conversation with Fran since that meeting, so I don't know where he's at.
I'm concerned, Greg, in that it says there's no time limit on rescinding or not rescinding. There's no time limit on ratifying. So that means this question is just hanging out there. That's what I don't understand.
Right. So
when does it officially say? It'd be nice to say, if we don't ratify within 60 days after the election, the vote's thrown out or something to that effect, rather than just having the thing hang out, even if we have a new vote. Does it make sense?
No, that totally makes sense. And Nick did bring that up too. I mean, there's basically there's nothing in the statute that said, or any of the legal side of things that says we have to do it by X number of days.
Right.
It is in our best interest not to let it be hanging out there, because somebody can call us on it, so to speak, and say, wait a minute, that wasn't a legally warned meeting. That vote doesn't hold up. And so I think our best interest is to be more urgent about it and to get it done. But we want to also not necessarily, we could do it immediately, I guess. It makes sense. And then if it doesn't get ratified, then we're back to square zero again, and can move forward with making a voting both issues separately.
So you're saying that the town has to ratify it through another vote,
Yes.
not the board
Yes.
ratifying?
Yes.
But there was one other component. Did our rep not say, or did I misunderstand her? I have to look at all the chicken scratch I've got over here. If we did nothing, we wouldn't lose our option to, I understand there's kind of a vote maybe in the air, but didn't she say that if we did nothing, we would still be able to participate in maybe having a dispensary or growing? Did I misunderstand that?
What she had said was that in Act 25, which has not passed at this, well, I may pass now, but I don't think it's passed yet. What that act says is come sometime in 2022, I forget the time frame. She said, any town that has not specifically prohibited
Right.
cannabis sales will automatically be put into approval. And once you're at that point, you can't get out of it. So then it's approved. So
But that's not law yet.
that's not law yet.
So they're discussing reversing that, say instead of opt-in, it'll be an opt-out. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right. Correct.
Oh.
Then you'd have to opt out, right?
yeah.
In the minutes, one of the questions in the letters that you're getting back and forth from Nick, the last paragraph of the letter of the, whatever date it was, the 4th, no, the 19th. He says, the question you put to him was, how involved should the board be with scripting the process when it comes to the different petition options? Or do we need to let Fran sort that out? His response was, Fran can move forward with a petition, but if the board is on board with what Fran is proposing, you can work together to put together a process. If everyone is in agreement, then the board can present the recession question on its own and a petition is not necessary. Seems to me, as convoluted as this process has become, we ought to just rescind the entire thing, start over again with 2 separate petitions later in the fall or whenever, pick a time. But rather than trying to do all these other kinds of things, this seems like a good opportunity to just abort the mission, replan it, restart it, relaunch it.
Right.
The
So,
issue
so
is,
a couple points to that. Sorry, Tom, I'll get it. One is that Fran's time period for
yeah.
petitioning the vote has expired. So we're past that. So that part of it, I just wanted to add that out there.
right, that's what I was gonna say.
But we're all in agreement with it.
It's too late. So he can't rescind it. He can't put a petition in.
Right. So, but we can put it out there that we want to
Exactly.
rescind it.
That
We
we want.
can do it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And it
I
gets,
think-
Right,
Go
but
ahead.
why wouldn't we, once we know what we want to do, what we want to recommend in terms of the next vote, why wouldn't we do it all at the same time? So we'll do our rescission and warn the bifurcated vote that is more consistent with what Nick was describing, and rather than have it in multi-steps. That's just my
Well,
recommendation.
here, but what if we
I
do
would agree
that
with that. Right.
one step and then it doesn't get rescinded? So then we
It
have-
will. I think the risk of that is about the same as if we just did the votes separately.
Just throwing it out there. It's not
Yeah.
rescinded. Now we have this thing that's not rescinded and we have this new thing, and then which one is present, you know?
It's
it's
not,
confusing.
the education process for this new, explaining why the board is offering 2 options. That one relates, kind of protects the small grower. The other one, serves kind of the multi-state, or out of state larger providers. We're going to have to go through an education process. We can easily say, look, as a board, we didn't give you this option the first time around. We should, we realize now we should have. And quite frankly, we didn't comply with the technical rules around warning the meeting. So, first, we'll do it in order. First is, please, for as a hygienic measure, right, vote to rescind, and then take your pick of these next 2 options. And then I think,
Okay. Yeah, it could work. You're right. I'm not.
right. The effort to educate people twice and bring them twice,
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
that's just,
Is
Yeah.
there anything that needs to be done for the, is there anything regarding this on the warning for the 1st of May?
No.
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 Okay, so this is irrelevant as far as the town meeting right now. We're going to have
Right,
to have a
like the-
subsequent meeting later.
Right. We could do it at the meeting after, the next meeting, as long as, we sort of have the
Well, I
paperwork
think we'd have
together.
to call a special town meeting, and we could do that, later in the summer, next
Right.
fall. And the other part of this is that there's multiple steps, and I think they all should be pieced together, and they can be worded. We can have Nick work on helping us draft up how they're worded, so,
Right.
so that if one thing passes, then it goes to the next thing, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, that kind of.
Right. And to Andy's point, I mean, listen, Andy, I remember your heartfelt frustration with the advice that we had gotten. And I think, listen, the statutes themselves can be a challenge. And I'm working more and more in representing municipalities. So I'm seeing it more and more. That being said, I want to say I personally hear that frustration. And I think despite the efforts that Greg and I have made, I think we can get it even tighter and not find ourselves kind of going flip-flopping, or not. That's a very negative way of characterizing it, but not being as tight as we could be around what is it that we're required to do, as best as the statutes allow. Let's get our ducks in as tight a row as possible as we go forward on this.
And this is
My
certainly.
frustration was with, my frustration wasn't with this so much as was with the town charter and all that, where the, and just one other thing about this. 100% sure that this isn't a binding vote, that this is done wrong. This isn't binding. What's already done.
It's not that it's not binding, it's that it can be challenged. So it is absolutely vulnerable to a challenge, without a doubt.
But we don't like it this way anyway.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
unless we tighten it up and make it invulnerable, we're living with a vote, and we'd be, as a board, be operating under the aegis of a vote that may be challenged. And then everything every action we might take under that vote would be subject to challenge. It's just, as a practical matter, do we really want to operate that way?
Is there a vote to rescind, or do we do it? The board?
No, we have to put it out there for the
Okay.
town to vote to
Yeah.
rescind.
We have to warn the rescission.
Okay, no, that's what I thought, but now I know.
Okay.
Well,
Yep. So again, I guess that my big thing here is I'm hearing is that I'm hearing we're all on the same page, that we've kind of have taken the advice of we're learning as we go on this. We've taken the advice that Fran has proposed, that these be two separate issues, and that we will work toward the steps of rescinding the current vote, putting out there the new vote, getting them worded correctly and that type of thing, and a timeline to do that over the next X number of months. I mean, we're not, again, there's no timeline for it. There's no
right.
deadline, I guess is what I'm saying, but we certainly want to do it sooner than later.
I just
We
wonder, one
certainly-
other quick question, and I'll be quiet. I wonder, other towns that voted for this, how they put it to their vote, wrong terminology, how they presented it
Right.
to, to split it like we're talking about for the smaller grower or whatever, so it doesn't get, it sounds like gobbled up by big growers, in layman's terms. If they did that, or we're just going along with what, I appreciate Fran's, his knowledge in this, his experience in this stuff, but.
Andy, I think that's a great question. I'm happy to take on pulling
I'm
Pulling
just
some of
curious
the-
what Brattleboro, maybe Brattleboro did, or,
We know that
Bennington did, there's a bunch,
Winooski split them. I know that because
Okay.
I talked about that.
right?
But
And
other
there's
ones I don't
small
know.
towns that vote. I mean, there's some large towns and there's also some small towns. So we're not the only one kind of in the small town boat either. So
oh, I know.
interesting to look at those issues.
It's definitely worth looking at, absolutely.
The only time crunch that I can imagine is if if Montpelier somehow pushes forward that bill that says if you don't turn it down, you're automatically in. We just don't want to get so far wrapped up in this that we miss that if they somehow push that through before we get a chance to act on it, they backdoor that in.
That won't be in effect till 2022 though.
Hopefully, that's what I'm saying now.
Okay, just saying, stuff's not faster, stuff's slower.
But also that we don't get kind of embroiled in the whole
Right.
that process, and that it conflicts with some of where we're thinking tonight as far as the way we want to proceed. Like, yeah, okay. Anything more there? That's pretty thorough conversation. So next item on the agenda was open the bids for the cemetery mowing. So we had put that out to bid, as we do
Drum
every
roll,
year.
please.
Drum roll, yeah. We put that out to bid every year, or we have every year. We have one bid
Right.
from D&K's property maintenance. For it included all 6 of the cemeteries. Their bid states that the bid reflects that they get awarded all of them. I think one year we kind of split it apart, but
We did, yeah.
this bid reflects that they get all of them, but since they're only one bid, the total amount was $5,510 to mow the cemeteries for this year. Includes a spring cleanup, a fall cleanup, and then a number of mowings that vary a little bit per cemetery based on how fast the grass grows, I guess.
I'll make a motion. to accept the bid.
Well, go ahead and make.
We'll make it, we can discuss it then, yeah.
Yeah.
I made the motion.
And it's out there from Tom,
Second,
second to Andy.
I'm a little surprised that no one else bid on that. I mean, our hands are kind of tied. Either the select board's gonna mow it, or we're gonna hire these guys, which is, I'm glad that they put a bid in, but I'm surprised that no one else was interested in a $5,000 bid.
Is it my understanding too, this is higher than last year by about 10%.
$510 higher.
But I talked with Karen a little bit about it, and she said that spring cleanup and fall cleanup isn't necessarily happening at this point. I don't remember what was on the old bids, if they were doing anything with that, but she seemed to think that there needed to be more cleanup of branches in the spring, in particular, branches, getting the leaves even off to the edge. She's like, that stuff starts creeping in particular in some of the more wooded cemeteries like East Jamaica. So I'm not certain if that's included in this, but if that is, that's something she said is necessary, and she's one of the sextons. So again, that's where that conversation came in.
So it is out here to say that it does include a spring and fall cleanup, but I don't know exactly what that entails. Is that where you're going at?
Yeah, if that, I talked to her, not about this, it was about something else with the cemeteries. And that was something that she had said, oh yeah, we really need to get someone out there to, clean out the edges and pick up the branches and all kinds of stuff. Just because, again, they mow them, but they're not maintained per se. And that's, I think, what this cleanup, and in particular, she said spring, when all the limbs come down in the fall or in the winter, and then, there's left there or whatever.
So are you saying the extra $510, they're gonna do that, or?
It's in the bid.
It's in the bid. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, is fall cleanup and spring cleanup.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I may be able to go back and see. I got all my email here from whenever.
I do recall that those were in there last year also.
Okay.
But I don't know, again, the scope of
Oh, and
how,
it could have just went up
Go
too,
with-
if they're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
Things go
Yeah.
up.
Yep,
Yeah.
I have the old one right here. So one cleanup and mowing services for bids include spring and fall cleanup and the following mowing schedule. So it is consistent with last year, 6 times at the 2 larger cemetery, East Jamaica and Rossville, and then the others are the 3. So nothing has changed from last year outside of the price.
Well, and gas has gone up, and
Yeah.
who knows what else has gone up.
Oh, no, that's the actual thing that we sent out. So this is required. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the actual request for proposal from last year,
Oh.
which is what they're answering here. It's exactly the same. Spring and fall cleanup, 6 times for the 2 cemeteries, 3 times for each. So that wasn't what I found, was not his bid.
And I
I
guess
don't
that
have that.
the comment to Andy's point about surprising that there hasn't been other bids, me personally, am surprised when you see how many people are out there, but I know there's, I know a lot of the people that I talk to, people that are doing work for us, like at our property, our shop, they just can't find help. So
Right.
they might
Yeah,
not
tell
be
me
in a
about it.
position
I hear
to expand their businesses. And this ended up getting printed twice in the paper because there was a typo in it. It said Tuesday, the 26th was when the bids were due. So we ran it again. So people had two weeks of opportunity to see it in the paper and see it posted around. So that would be my only guess, is that there's not a lot of capacity to build on more business for some of these people.
Well, I move we accept the eminent bid.
We've already,
Second the motion.
it's on the table. That motion's
Already
already
on
on the table.
Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting this bid, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None? All right, perfect.
Done.
Sarah, can you let them know? Is that the process then? Or Terry, I guess, lets them know? Excellent.
They probably already know.
And then just another comment, and Terry's put this little,
I can text
yeah,
Drew real quick if you want.
right, exactly. Terry has put this a little bit further ahead on the schedule. I know Karen had commented to me that even though this year is a couple weeks earlier than last year, it's still not really early enough to help them and maybe probably help other people with their planning. So that too could help us maybe roust up a few other proposals next year too, to put it back into March so people can plan a little bit more. Just a note for the future. Next item, number 8, to reappoint the forest fire warden and the deputy forest fire warden. And this was forwarded to Sarah from the state. I just kind of assumed that they had already talked to our 2 wardens, but I don't know. Paul, did you have an opportunity to get a hold of them?
I did. Both are accepting.
Okay.
Good news. Thanks, Paul.
Now we're going to have to sign all this. So Sarah, you got a copy of it at the office? We can combine and sign it.
So I think we have to make the
can print
motion
one.
to.
Yeah.
Well, I think the forms that go upstream. Do they not need our signature as selectmen?
These, they do.
So I think we need to make, Paul, or not Paul, Greg, you're right. We do need to make a motion
Yep.
You need to make a motion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
to accept, who's the deputy? Is it Stuart Parker as the fire warden for the town of
So-
Jamaica?
Okay. You want me to make the motion? I'll make
Yeah,
the
you go ahead,
motion.
please.
I'll make the motion to reappoint Stuart Barker and Robert Stomsky as Vermont Town Fire Warden for the town of Jamaica for the year 2021. Commencing
second
July
that.
1, 2021 and terminating June 30, 2026, or until they resign.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
The reason we're doing that is because we couldn't do it at a regular town meeting time. This is what we would do on our first select board meeting after the town meeting. We would have done our appointments, right?
If it had been in March, right?
So this is lapsed.
This one's I guess a little different just because the state
Yes.
has kind of initiated
And
the,
it's a 5-year appointment. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was 5 years.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
through June 30, 2026.
yeah, and I kind of asked myself that same question, whether or not we put them onto our, put this
No,
on
I
the
just,
agenda for the next meeting, but the fact that it is a little different, it's 5 years and it's really coming from the state as opposed to just
no,
us.
they
pointing
don't
it.
want it to lapse.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just curious because, we usually spend a good amount of time on all those appointments for purveyor of coal.
Oh,
and
you know what?
those
That's
those
different. This
jobs.
is separate from that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Now I know what you mean. Okay.
Okay, so, and I think we did have a second, right? So
Yep, well done. Just gotta vote.
any further discussion? All in favor of reappointing Stuart Barker and Bob Stomsky as our forest fire warden, say aye.
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 Bye.
Is unanimous. Thank you to both of them.
So just a quick process question. So Sarah, should we all sign the same one? You'll have it in the office?
Yeah, I can get it Wednesday. I won't be in tomorrow.
Okay, so
I'll
we'll
come over
stop
Wednesday.
in
so I'm not
Wednesday.
gonna be there
That's
on-
fine. Okay.
Okay, next item, number 9, to adopt or re-adopt the local emergency management plan. So I'll turn that to Paul.
Okay, another thing that has, timing has been a little off because of the change in our town meeting. This has to be forwarded to WRC by the 1st, before the 1st of May. We ordinarily have plenty of time between the March meeting and the 1st of May. The only changes, I think that, the only changes are just names. We've taken out Pam Bernardo, who was the principal, or is still now, but is going to no longer be the principal of the school. And so we put in Susan Clark in for the contact there. And there's one other movement from, I think I moved Greg. Or I put you, Greg. I don't have it in front of me, but I sent everybody the copy.
You
I
moved
read
it
it.
out to be the town health officer instead of you
That's
Right.
what it was. Yep,
as the default being the chairman.
exactly. Yep. And that's all. Everything else is the same. But we need to get it in the hand of the WRC so they can push it forward. The value of this is if we have a disaster, our portion of what we have to co-pay is reduced by our compliance with all of this. Which, by the way, brings up a point that somebody brought up earlier today to remind all of us that as select board members, we ought to have ICS training. Now, the ICS, I think 401 is the one, the least invasive into your time schedule. These are available online. I think right now, Andy, you've got some ICS, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else have any ICS training?
No,
Tell them what
Yeah.
that stands for, Paul.
That's your incident command system. Part of the reason why you'll see my signature on there twice is I was the only one I could remember who had it. And you have somebody from the ICS training has to sign it, and then we sign it as a select board member. So my name's on it twice, but that's not a big deal.
So Paul, you were recommending, I'm sorry, just to repeat it, for ICS 401?
I believe it's the 401, and I'd have to go back because it's been so long since I took it. But I know that the basic one is online, and I don't think it's more than an hour or two.
Okay,
But
thanks.
the tricky piece is you've got to go into the, this is new since I went through it. You got to go in and get education control number somehow. WRC is the one who did it for people. They get you a number and you get control numbers. So all the courses you take throughout, you use the same control number. It's just something they developed after I went through it. Because when I went through it, we were still writing on chalkboards. Never mind. I'm getting off.
there's,
track.
there's 301 and there's 401.
Yeah, I think 401 is the management one. I'm not positive.
5 days of training, it says.
Ugh,
5-day
5
training
days?
events. Oh, that's Idaho, never mind.
good.
What we want to know is four.
What's
202
301?
or 4 or 2.
Never
or
mind,
2.
I'm punting on that one. It says ICS 100 online and 200 online. Those are the two.
100 and 200. Yeah, 100 is
100.
the required one, and 200, I think they're both pretty similar, but those are the ones online, correct? Because I
Okay,
took a bunch of them all in a rush, and I don't remember all of them.
and that's
frankly.
done through FEMA then. That's FEMA it said.
Yeah, that's FEMA, and I believe I think the education control number or whatever it's called came out of WRC. But a phone call to them will clear it all up because Alicia knows all of this stuff and she can connect you to the right people.
Perfect, okay. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
And they're online and they should be easy.
Okay, so we
You're
should,
welcome to take the other ones as well, but
No,
Do we need a formal motion?
we need a motion.
no, it's just a suggestion, really.
well,
No.
wait, we need the motion.
No, for the
Oh,
Adopt.
yeah.
emergency
So
management
I'll
plan.
make a motion that we accept the local emergency management plan as presented by Paul Frazier.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of adopting the local emergency management plan, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Paul.
You and
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, on to just the, we've got pay orders. Terry's got them posted up there. The timesheets, everything looked pretty straightforward to me, but if you get a chance to duck in and look at those, I'll be in Wednesday, I guess, to go sign off on those. And then other public concerns, I see Kate. I'm sure Kate would like to say hi. You can introduce yourself.
Sure. Yep. Hi. I just thought I'd pop in. I spoke with Jessica last night, and I spoke with Stephanie and Erica the other night. And I retired from being a music teacher last year for 29 years in this district, including Jamaica for something like 23 of those. I never really counted until about 5 years ago. And we've lived here for almost 29 years. And I'd like to be more involved in town stuff, and I've got the time, and I don't have the expertise that you guys have, but so, you know, I'm happy to have my, throw my hat in the ring, and, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm not dying to be a politician, a local politician, but yeah, I'm happy to do my part. If it
The
happens.
expertise comes quickly, Kate.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
None of us have
Doesn't take long.
Sometimes not quickly enough.
that.
Sure. Yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
Yeah, well, super.
Can I
Thanks.
say something?
Thank you, Kate. Yep.
Just really quickly, as a kind of unsolicited commercial. Kate, we have in the fire department lots of things that non-fire department people, non-firemen can do to help us run the department. Just throwing that out. If you really are bored to tears, we can
Okay.
help you be on board.
good to know.
There's always something.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kate, for
Well,
offering.
thank you. Thanks for introducing yourself, and
Yes.
Thanks for letting me say hi and try it
Oh,
out.
you're always welcome.
Yes.
Oh, and I mean, I said to Jessica last night, I had plans in the works for probably a couple of months to be out of town this weekend, and I was really bummed when I found out that the town meeting is Saturday, because I would love to be there. You know, finally people are kind of coming out of the woodwork a little bit, and but I can't change it. It's a big birthday celebration surprise for my sister, and it's the first time I will have flown on a plane for quite some time. So yeah, it can't be changed, and so I'm sorry I can't be there for the meeting. But so anyway,
Well, we'll be your cheerleaders.
thanks.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Any other, I guess there's no other public, but any other thoughts, concerns? Any need? I don't see any, but any need for an executive session? I guess that's always on there just in case we need it, but I don't know of anything. So.
Oh.
Paul.
Speaking of the fire department, for those of you keeping track, the fire truck that's been down for the last week or so is now operational again. We just finished some repairs on the rescue truck. That wasn't keeping us from running it, but we got that working again. And the brush truck is still down at, the guy's working on it. Rumor has it we should have it in a week. Perhaps sometime this week if we can get all the little, there's a light that just won't go out. As soon as they pull the bulb out or something, it should be it should be fine. But just give you a heads up that we're almost back up to where we now have more trucks than people. Sadly, it only takes 4 to have more trucks than people, but again, commercial.
Okay, that's
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks.
Pray for no fire.
Yeah,
Make a motion.
but
to
we're still, as you guys have heard, we're still working on kind of coming up with a plan for either a cistern or reservoir. We've thought about towers. I mean, we're still trying to figure out how to, everything we've come up with has been so expensive that, and then finding grants to mix and match them all has been a chore. So Bob's working his butt off, and we'll make something work somehow. I'll shut up now.
All right.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn now.
I'll second the
always-
motion.
All right. All in favor, we are adjourned.
Aye,
Thank you.
Aye, aye.
Thanks,
Great.
everyone.
bye.